What secret will you take to the grave? My mother was really sick in 2008. I was turning 25 with a younger brother and sister. Lost both of my grandparents on mom's side to cancer a few years prior. Mom had to watch as her parents slowly passed away. It destroyed her not having her mother around, as they were very close. My mom was in and out of the hospital for 6 months from the summer to the fall of 2008, a couple instances where her blood was septic. She recovered, but the doctors continued to run tests on her. One day I stopped by the hospital to check on her. The doctor was in the room when I walked in. He told her she had cancer, and chemo had a chance to save her, but it would mean she would be dealing with it for the unforeseen future. My mom told me she wasn't going to do any treatment. She said that no matter what, she was going to be home for the holidays and that I couldn't tell anyone what the doctor said. I never told anyone. She left the hospital like it was any other day. Thanksgiving came, and she gave a speech before the meal about how she loved everyone, and she began to cry. I knew why. Everyone else just thought it was that she felt blessed. Shortly after Christmas, she passed. She got her last wish to spend the holidays with the family. After she passed, the doctor told everyone cancer was the cause of death. I never said a word to anyone then, and haven't to this day. That's a lot to handle. Losing family is tough, especially when they're going through such hard times. Your mom had a clear wish and managed to spend those last moments with everyone. It's understandable that you kept that secret to yourself. Sometimes people deal with things in their own way, and it sounds like you respected her choice. It's a heavy situation, but you did what you thought was right. Late to thread. When I was maybe 12 or so, I saw my dad crying in his bedroom with a shotgun in his mouth. Late edit also, thanks for reading and posting. First of all, there's been some hilarious responses to this, so thank you internet strangers for the laughs. So as a bit of an update, because somehow this comment reached enough people to get nearly 1,000 upvotes. Yeah, my dad is still alive, but no, he's not doing super great. My parents divorced a year or two after that incident, and parents have a weird tendency to ask kids who they want to live with when they split. My dad was always a mean and often drunk. SOB, so it was no surprise my brother chose to stay with my mom. I thought my dad might need some connection to family. I was 13 or 14 and moved in with him. We had a good 2 years, and then he met someone, and I lived on my own for some of sophomore, all of junior, and most of senior year of high school. I was asked to come live with him eventually, and that barely worked out, so after 2 more years I was on my own again. In that course of time, he got diagnosed with a terminal illness. He tried to kill me in a drunken rage twice. My brother was there for the second time. I was angry but also sad and felt bad for him. We grew apart now that we had some distance between us. I got married, had kids, living a decent life. He is older, more calm, more appreciative of life. We're not super close, but we talk again, see each other again. He knows my wife, my kids. He is having a rough time, slowly dying, and I'm having a rough time coming to terms with it all. But as I grew older, I started to learn more about his story, his life, and what he was going through when I was just a kid. I'm glad he's still around, and I'm glad he's happy whenever he's not in pain. I lost my best friend to cancer when I was in my early 20s, and I'm not in a rush to lose my dad now too. Anyway, thanks for reading. That's a lot to unpack. It's tough dealing with family issues, especially when it involves something so serious. It sounds like you've gone through quite a journey with your dad. It's good to hear that you found a way to reconnect over time. Coming to terms with illness and loss is never easy. Hope you find some peace with it all, especially while navigating your own family life. When I was 21, I lived in my college town for a year despite dropping all of my classes. I took out $25,000 in student loans and tried starting a t-shirt business. It failed miserably, and I re-enrolled the next year. My parents and friends were none the wiser. Update. Okay, so here's why I took out the student loan instead of a business loan. Because I was an idiot 21-year-old. I used to take out $5,000 for fraternity dues, travel, and groceries at the beginning of each school year. One day, I had the bright idea to take out an extra $20,000 and start a small business to make bank. I felt like the t-shirt market was underserved. Learned pretty quickly it was not. Did no research upon starting the company and just tried to rely on online sales. Once the check cleared, I dropped all but one of my classes, Intro to Entrepreneurship. I want to go back in time and punch myself in the face, and just kept the money. It was a half-assed idea that I'm still paying for today. As for me, I still graduated in 4.5 years after some help from intensive online classes in summer school. Basically told my parents I was adding a minor to my degree, and I paid for last semester myself. Still learn a lot about myself. Loans will be paid off in 2 years. Seems like you went through quite a journey. Taking out that much in loans for a t-shirt business without research is a big risk, especially at 21. It's good to hear you found a way to graduate eventually and learn from it. The whole experience teaches valuable lessons, even if it didn't go as planned. Now, with a clear path to paying off the loans, it's a step forward. That my husband and I were married by a justice of the peace before the home wedding I insisted on. My mother wanted us to elope, but after she skipped my high school and college graduation, I was damned if I was going to let her slide out on the wedding too, so I had it in her house. It was a small ceremony. I paid for everything, including the post-wedding supper at a local restaurant, but you'd have thought I was killing her. Both she and my dad have passed, so now I can tell the world. Edited to add, we had to be married before the Navy would station us together. Seems like a lot of family drama surrounding your wedding. It's interesting how those personal decisions can really shape the experience. You made it clear that you wanted your mom there, despite her past. It sounds like you went through a lot to make it work. The need to be married for the Navy adds another layer, too. It's nice you can share the story now. When my mom died, I was given her wedding ring. The wedding ring her and my dad shared. I was 16. Whenever I missed her, I would hold it and think of her. My family sucks, and my dad is an abusive piece of shit. He kicked me out at 19 for speaking out about the abuse, and my boyfriend walked out on me after 3 years about a year later. I used the ring to pay for rent when I had a mental breakdown and couldn't find a decent paying job. I know I didn't do anything wrong, and that it was a good decision. I just can't imagine telling my family and getting verbally abused for it when I was on my own and no one who should have been there for me was. I want it back. It made me feel close to her, but sometimes life just sucks, I guess. That sounds really tough. Losing your mom is hard enough, and then dealing with family issues makes it worse. It's understandable why you had to make that choice, especially when you were struggling. The ring held a lot of meaning for you, so wanting it back makes sense. It's a shame that family can sometimes add to the pain instead of helping. Life can really throw a lot at you. When I was 5 or 6, my brother was hit by a firework on his neck. Every time we talk about it, I say, yeah, I don't remember much, but I remember everything, and he doesn't, as I'm pretty sure he passed out for a while. Scariest shit in my life is I can recall having to get my dad, and his screams are the worst thing I've ever heard, and I hope I'll never have to hear something like them again. But that was a while ago now, so it's cool. Edit, I posted this about 1 a.m. and went to sleep, so only now getting to answer your questions. That sounds pretty intense. It's tough when you experience something so traumatic at a young age. It makes sense that you'd remember it more vividly than your brother. It's good to hear you're okay now, but those kinds of memories can stick with you. Glad you're able to talk about it now, even if it's a difficult topic. Time does help with these things, I guess. I have secrets of my own, but I'm too paranoid to tell them. So I'll tell a story from my dad, who never admired this to his own mother, and only told it to his father after his mother's death back in '06. My dad was 10 at the time, so this would have been either 1971 or 1972. His mother was making Jell-O, or whatever gelatin snack they had in those days. She finished the initial boiling process and put the big tray Jell-O in the freezer. She then made a big deal about not touching the Jell-O before it's set. A while later, my dad is curious as to whether it's set or not and decides to test it. He reaches into the freezer and pokes the Jell-O, and sure enough, it hasn't set yet. A few hours later, his mom checks it and finds a fingerprint in the now set Jell-O. She brings my dad and his sister to her and tells them to hold out their index fingers. She compares their fingers to the print left in the Jell-O and quickly determines that it was my dad's sister. As a result, she wasn't allowed any of the Jell-O. How did my dad get away with it, you might ask? He tested it using his pinky. TLDR, the Jell-O incident. That's an interesting story about how kids can be clever in getting away with things. It's funny how those little moments stick with us over time. The contrast between how serious the mom was about the jello and how the kids handled it adds a nice touch. It also shows that sometimes the easiest tricks are the ones we don't think of. A pretty relatable family memory. A horrific high school relationship resulted in a pregnancy. I was ill at the time and wasn't aware I was pregnant. I had an incomplete stillbirth at around 20 weeks. I was away at university and never told my family. The second trimester miscarriage resulted in awful uterine scarring/Asherman syndrome. The chances of my carrying a child to term are minimal. My late husband and current husband know. It was a girl, and I named her. I feel guilty because even though it wasn't the right time to get pregnant, maybe if I had known, it would have resulted in a healthy pregnancy. That may have been my one chance to have a child. Uneasy face. That's a tough situation you went through. It's understandable to feel guilt over something like that, especially when it's tied to your health and circumstances. It sounds like you had to navigate a lot of pain and loss, which isn't easy. The emotional weight of such experiences can linger, and it's okay to reflect on them. Just know that you're not alone in feeling this way. I'm not very close with my family, not even my parents. About 3 years ago, I won a Mega Millions lottery and haven't told anyone. I tell them I work in IT all day, but really I just play video games and sleep a lot. Edit. For those asking, yes, I still work, although not necessarily as a means to pay the rent. Also, I didn't win one of those absurdly life-changing amounts. Although I could, I still haven't moved out of my apartment or upgraded my car. Really, the biggest thing that's changed is I get to eat out at more $2/$3 restaurants from Yelp, and much more often. Not having many friends or family kind of limits what you can do with the spending money. Additionally, the state I live in collects a large portion of any lottery winnings as tax. I also took the lump sum, which brings the total down even more. I put away most of the principal and am currently living off the interest and a modest amount in a liquid bank account. I definitely don't live an extravagant lifestyle or one of luxury, as I was warned that many lottery winners eventually go broke because of poor money management and spending. It sounds like you've found a way to live your life without the usual pressures that come from family and money. Keeping your lottery win quiet is interesting. The way you manage your spending shows some thoughtfulness. Eating out more is nice, but it seems like you've kept things pretty low-key. The tax situation and living off interest makes sense, given the stories about lottery winners. Seems like you've got things figured out. Then I graduated college. I got a fake diploma and a nice diploma frame. Faked some transcripts. Even forged a letter from the administration congratulating me. I bought a grad cap and gown, and just as I was on my way to graduation ceremony, which would not be naming me to walk, I got in a car accident on purpose just to cover my massive lie. My parents were disappointed they did not see me walk, but it was far better than the disappointment of them finding out that I've been lying to them for so long about going to school and graduating. I own a mobile development firm, and we just hit $1 million in revenue this past October, and I helped pay for my grandparents' caretaker. He's 90 years old living by himself, and have to subsidize my brother's rent, otherwise he would be homeless. My parents are divorced as well. It would absolutely crush them, but I do it to keep them happy and my family in one piece. It's kind of wild how far some people go to maintain a certain image. The lengths you went to just to avoid disappointing your parents is something else. But it seems like your success in business helped you create some stability for your family. That's a lot to carry on your shoulders. Balancing those lies with the reality of supporting your family must be tough. Makes you think about what really matters in the end. That the boyfriend that they love so dearly is actually just someone I've been in a FWB relationship with over the years. Both of us are pretty focused on our own careers and are the types that would probably do best in life without a so. We dated at first and mutually ended it due to lack of commitment from both of us and decided to go the FWB route. Although his benefit is sex, mine is a financial benefit. When both our parents come to town, they ask for him and I to meet them for dinner and spend time talking about our future. We both agreed it would be best to pretend we were together, since it helps us cater to all the life events happening like weddings and holiday festivities. We're never breaking up. It's interesting how they've set up that arrangement. The way they navigate the situation with their parents shows some level of planning. It seems like both of them have a clear understanding of their priorities and what they want from the relationship. Pretending to be together for the sake of family events is a practical choice, but it makes you wonder how that impacts their dynamic in the long run.